The first journey of facing unmet or acknowledged emotion can feel overwhelming. I think that's often what makes us stop or go back to previous behaviors and addictions. Is because maybe we don't have the community, maybe we don't have the support, that idea that we're not well resourced enough yet.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the parts, I remember when Kylie and I broke up for a while and it was over. I remember a couple weeks after I rented a cabin in Mount Baker, Washington, which
Beautiful.
by yourself, it was a great idea.
You and the bears just
just me hanging out there. And I remember just talking to a friend and him saying, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." And I just started crying. And he got in a car and came. And it's like, I didn't need anything more than him actually being in a chair beside me, because what that did for me is it was like a tether to the world.
Yeah.
Like I was afraid I was going to be swallowed up by grief. And he was like this hand that was just like, "I got you. Like, you go, but I'll swim. I'll fish you out if you need it." And we didn't have that conversation, but that's what was happening. And it was, I consider it such a blessing. And we need to be resourced like that. We need to be able to say to a friend, like, "I need you right now." And what you said about the more you've gotten to know it, the more tears you've shed, the more, and I feel the same way. Like now I feel whole. And I'm sure I'll keep expanding in terms of what I'm aware of, what I'm capable of, my ability to have empathy, compassion, clean anger, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, as I discover more of my emotionality, there's a grief that I haven't lived it till now.
I think that's why there's been so many tears in the last few years for me, even though I would say I feel more aligned and more on purpose than at any time in my life. And it's this interesting paradox. It's like, but I cry more.
Right.
But I also think it's like years of not crying when I should have, years of that
same.
layer in the system of, oh, now I'm okay enough. Like I'm in alignment enough, which is why all this emotion is coming up. So some people feel like, oh, I'm a mess lately. And like, it could also be actually because you're doing well. That the safety and the wisdom of your body is like, thank goodness now we can start processing some of this stuff, because there's no way we could have done that before.
Right.
But we're actually resourced enough, or we feel safe enough. Let's let it start coming through. So often when I start working with somebody and we start detoxing and clearing bacteria and all these different areas of the body, I'm like, oh, by the way, on this remedy I've given you, you might feel a lot of emotion and you may not know where it comes from, but it's going to be there. You'll get a memory, or you'll see a scene in your mind that you haven't thought about for 20 years, because I'm clearing your liver, and that's where it's maybe been stored for you. And then it comes to the surface, and I've taken a lot of my own remedies, and I'll be on a remedy for 2-3 days, and I'm waking up in the morning like anxious and feeling so much sadness, and I'm like, what's happening here? What is this? There's nothing that happened. And I feel like, oh, that was 10 years ago when you felt like so let down by people close to you, or you weren't met. There was something there, and then I let it come through in that moment, because maybe I couldn't then. I was too disconnected to actually feel through, so I just filed it in the back. And even as you're sharing, those moments, going through breakups or different things where you feel like your heart's just kind of being shredded in some way, your friend asking you from the heart is like, "Are you okay?" It's not even the words necessarily. It's you feel his heart and he can feel yours. And I think sometimes as guys, it's hard to not be okay, because we've been trained as like, "No, I'm good."
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, on that edge of, I actually don't really feel okay right now. And that's scary to me, because I'm always in control, or I've got this dialed in. And so for me, the last few years, like opening up that space a bit more is, what if I wasn't okay for the next hour or two? What would happen? What would come through? I might cry a lot. And what would that bring me? Well, it might bring some integration or some resolution from something that's been unprocessed. Well, what would that do? Probably bring me more energy the next day, more clarity, more focus.
That's interesting, because it
more
unblocks
creativity.
the...
It unblocks so much energy. And in Chinese medicine, it's obstructive energy that, one of my teachers said, if something's moving, that's good. If something's not moving, that's no good. And so it gets things moving.